Welcome back to the World Junior Recap edition of 7-Eleven Junior Hockey Magazine. I'm your host, Gino Reda. Time now for the CJHL Report. The Canadian Junior Hockey League brings together the 135 teams of the 10 Junior A leagues involving over 3,000 players from right across the country. Now joining us is Kevin Figsby, who's in his first full season as a commissioner of the Quebec AAA Junior Hockey League. Kevin, welcome to the show and welcome to the league during the pandemic, my friend.
Thanks, Gino.
Not exactly the way you wanted to start things off in your new role, I'm assuming.
Well, not exactly the plan I had in place for my first season as a commissioner.
You were named initially as the interim commissioner of the Quebec AAA Junior Hockey League last January before taking over the full-time role in September. Give me a sense of the transition, because you come from U Sports to running a league like this after running a team.
It's a little bit different. It's, fortunately I had that 3-year window when I was with Hockey Canada, and I sort of dove a little deeper into the administrative side of things. And having been on junior council for almost 20 years with Hockey Canada, I had a pretty good insight as to what the landscape was across the country in junior A hockey. So, having that background and coming into the Quebec Junior League, I kind of knew what I thought might be needed in Quebec to bring the league up to the level that the players wanted it to aspire to, and as well bring it to a level that would bring it to the top of the CJHL's foundation.
You mentioned your roots in the Hockey Canada organization. Give us a sense of what goes on in an organization like that, because I can imagine, especially coming off the World Junior Hockey Championship right now, the busiest time of the year for that organization. Give us a sense of your time there and the things that you learned and came to understand about that organization.
Well, I think the thing that you learn the most with Hockey Canada is the landscape across the country, how I don't want to say different it is, because everyone has the same goals and ambitions for the players and for the growth of the game. But there's different constraints in different areas across the country. And, to be able to work with the different constraints and try and make sure that every kid has the best opportunity they can to develop is something that is at the forefront of every day at Hockey Canada. Being on the grassroots and on the development side, you look at the work that needs to be done from growing the game. You look at things like the Bauer First Shift program and how that sort of transpires kids to want to start skating, to want to start playing, to want to start evolving in the system. And then you look at how that transitions through the branches into the high performance program. And then you take a look at the offshoots of that when you look at the officiating programs, you look at the administrators across the country. Most people that are volunteers in minor hockey, found their passion as kids in the game and continue to evolve with that passion to give it back to the kids of today. So you see all that when you're working in Hockey Canada. It's not something you see, when you're out in an arena, watching someone, an individual member of your family playing, and you're invested in that team or that individual. When you look at the game on the greater scope, you realize the amount of effort and passion that exists across the country and what actually has to be done to keep that as a coordinated effort.
It's interesting because while you went through that process with Hockey Canada and saw how you try to make that work, now you're in kind of a similar situation where the government funding is so important for you in the province of Quebec, where the Quebec government stepped up with $72 million for sport and activity during this period of the pandemic. However, your initial request for assistance was turned down. Tell us about that.
Well, we thought at the onset, we would wait and see, how we'd be able to proceed in terms of return to play. After the shutdown in March, all the planning and all the effort was put into making sure that we can transition and be prepared for a start in September. And the indications from the government and public health and safety were that we would have constraints put in place, but we would be able to start the season, have 250 fans, a limited number of people. So that allowed us to budget for a start of a season and take all those things into consideration. Then we hit September, training camps had opened. We started exhibition games in cohorts of 4-on-4. And then the government decided that they were going to limit that, not allow people in the arenas. And then it got to the point where it was shut down completely. At that point, you've got franchise owners, you've got franchisees, you've got families that have made investments into the start of the season. And we saw what the government was doing with their financial aid programs and the grants that were coming out. And we made an application. We didn't ask for an enormous amount of money. We were looking at things that we could use to help with the, get mental health training for our players, because we knew if it was prolonged, we'd be facing a problem within the age group that we deal with. And when we submitted our grant to the government, it took them about 6 weeks. And they came back with an outright refusal. In the interim, they had come out with their $72 million grant program, and that included $12 million for the Quebec Major Junior League. So when we saw that, we figured, a no was a no for now, but we'll be going back to the government with a second proposal. We don't begrudge any money that's been given to any sport organization through this pandemic, because there's certainly a great need. But we also feel that we contribute a tremendous amount to local communities and to the growth and development of hockey in those communities. So we need some assistance, and we'll be going back to the government on a second request very soon.
Good for you, because it's clear. And in fairness to the provincial governments, it looks like it's something they've been tracking, trying to figure out how to get kids back involved in sport, hockey and all other sports as well. So that's key. Before we let you go on a bit of a lighter note, one of the great hockey traditions in Canada is building your own backyard rink. And as we all know, one of our very own, Darren Dreger, loves to tweet out pictures of backyard rinks on Christmas Eve. And you were a part of it this year. Tell us about that.
Well, we have a 5-year-old grandson, and my passion started when my dad was coaching, and I started skating when I was 4 and 5. And we felt during the pandemic, if there was an opportunity to watch our grandson grow, it would be on an outdoor rink. So my wife bought me an outdoor kit for Christmas, and we've been at it the past 5 or 6 days, because the weather's finally, -5, -6 for the next 8 days. So we started putting in the backyard rink, and I'm out there 3 times a day watering, and my wife's snapping pictures to send to my daughter and the little guy. And last night, as I was watering the rink and before he went to bed, we did a FaceTime session. So we're excited. We're just hoping that, things will improve here in Quebec and we'll be able to see them, because Christmas was pretty tough, having to do it, via Zoom. So, hopefully things will open up, and the outdoors will become an opportunity for families to gather. And certainly when that happens, we'll be gathering on the outdoor rink here in the backyard.
Hey, Kevin, listen, thank you for all you've done in trying to get the kids back on the ice. We appreciate that. Stay safe, stay healthy. We appreciate you talking with us. We'll talk to you again down the road.
Thanks very much, Gino.
That was Quebec AAA Junior Hockey League Commissioner Kevin Figsby. And that wraps up this week's CJHL Report, the Canadian Junior Hockey League. Your future is here. Coming up, he won a silver medal with our nation at the 2011 World Junior in Buffalo. Now he's patrolling the blue lines for the Ottawa Senators. We'll check in with Eric Branson in this week's edition of Where Are They Now? You're listening to Canada's only nationally syndicated junior hockey radio show. This is 7-Eleven Junior Hockey Magazine. And don't forget, you can listen and subscribe to the complete podcast by checking out any of your favorite podcast platforms.